Welcome to my stairwell. I like to bet myself when a snake is gonna shed, just because it's fun, just based on their shed cycle. So I guessed last night that April O'Neil and Shy were gonna shed today. Let's see if I was right. Hi, good morning. Did you shed? Are you all fresh? Did you shed in your... Yep, did you make a mess? Oh, look how big her shed is. 9-foot retic. Looks like you had a nice clean shed. Good girl. Get her out and check on her. Shy was the other one. No shed yet. He's still a potato. How good. Still a potato. All right. None of that had anything to do with what I'm going to chit chat about today. So today's horribly edited video is going to be focused on why you shouldn't get a snake. So last week I talked about things that I didn't know before getting a snake, and they were all really positive, awesome things. However, there are some things that I always let people know prior to their getting their first snake that might also be surprising and may actually help you change your mind. Now, I'm going to talk more to my experience with the bigger constrictors. I work with superdwarf and dwarf reticulated pythons and boa constrictors primarily, so that's going to be kind of the focus. Look at her tongue. She has the most sideways tongue sometimes. Gimme. Sorry. Something that I hear all of the time when people are talking about snakes, or like just Googling information about snakes, because I feel like people with any kind of experience know how untrue this is they often get marketed as low maintenance pets. And I have not found that true. I think part of that comes with the assumption that these animals are going to be a little less interactive. They won't need as much attention. However, they are very, very active. So they do need to be either kept in a very large enclosure. This is a 12-foot enclosure. This is Stella's. Stella is 12 feet long. I wish I had something bigger for her, but luckily we have the ability to get her out and let her have additional enrichment time when she wants to. So while they may not need to go for daily walks like a dog will, they do thrive off of extra interaction and changing up their enclosures, and essentially I call it playtime. They really do seem to be much more calm, easier to interact with, and overall just a better experience for both caretaker and animal when you give them that extra enrichment time. Something else to keep in mind is they are higher metabolism animals, at least the retics are, and I know there's several colubrids out there that are very hyper, so they do go potty a lot. I said hyper, I meant higher metabolism. So things like her house is clean. This is Centauri, by the way, she is in shed. She goes potty on her shelf, so I actually need to do stain removal. I did this on Stella's shelf recently. A little bit of vinegar and some water will generally clean that off pretty well. It's clean, it's just stained. But kind of to my point, when you keep on paper, Centauri's on paper, April is on paper for specific reasons. If you're curious, let me know. I will share why they are on paper versus the bioactive setups like what I have Jahia and the rest of my retics in. But they do require regular cleanup. So I wind up cleaning the animals' enclosures several times a week. I really don't like my animals sitting in like dirty enclosures or on dirty paper. Even with the bioactives, I will go in and spot clean once or twice a week to ensure that everyone is clean. There's no mold or anything like that growing. The boas are a little bit easier, to be transparent. They have slower metabolism, so they go potty less often, but when they potty, they mean it. The other thing to keep in mind is the learning curve in understanding their body language. So I feel like animals like dogs, because they're so prolific in captivity, are much easier to read their body language, but animals like snakes can be a little bit more of a learning curve, and you have to be willing to work them through any sort of defensive or food mode behavior. This is Gizmo. He's actually going to his new house today. Hi, buddy. I want to see if he'll show his kind of more flighty side. Of course you're not. Hi, buddy. So getting used to things like that, like when he turns around his head really fast, is he going to bite or is he not? And understanding your own willingness, I suppose, or your comfort level within that range of mitigating risks. I could go in with a hook and get him out. I do not have to work with him this way. This is just my preference. So learning, there's a pretty steep learning curve when it comes to body language in these animals. Hi, buddy. Hi, I know I'm harsh and you're cozy. I'll leave you alone. I know that is a video that I need to do, is kind of the varying body languages of the animals in my care that I have noticed, things that you might be able to look out for as well. So that's on the docket. It's just not going to happen today because the majority of my animals are currently in shed still. Including Stella. Nice girl. So that brings me to the fact that these animals do go into shed on a pretty regular basis. The retics go into shed a little bit more often than the boas. The adult boa is only going to shed probably about every 8 weeks, sometimes longer, sometimes shorter. And then the retics will go into shed every 4 to 6 weeks pretty regularly. Even the adults like Stella, who is 9 years old. And when they do that, they just kind of want to be left alone. And leaving an animal alone that you really enjoy interacting with can be a little bit disappointing at first if you're not expecting it. So generally, when they go into shed, they are, I call them potatoes, for a couple of weeks. And then as soon as they change clothes, they take about a day to kind of sleep off the energy that it takes, or replenish the energy that it took to change outfits. They expend a lot of energy to shed. And then after that, they're usually back to their normal interactive selves. Hi, you shed too, just all of the time. And you still want to go for walks when you're on shed. Huh. This is Cleo, by the way. She's one of our dogs and she's awesome. And the last thing that I want to mention that is a pretty obvious one is the cost. So the animals themselves may not be super expensive. Sometimes you can get a free snake if you're lucky. But just like they say, no dog is actually free. That is also true for the snakes as well. So you need to keep in mind a budget for potential vet visits, for enclosures. There are really wonderful companies out there that offer larger enclosures at various price points. We love Toad Ranch. They're a little more expensive, however, they last forever. So it's kind of like a one-time investment if you are getting an enclosure for an adult animal, or an adult enclosure for an animal that will eventually grow into it. So that's just something to keep in mind. Even if you keep bioactive, you do need to replace the substrate, and sometimes you need to replace plants or add plants or move stuff around. So just things to keep in mind. It's never just a, here's however much money for the animal and then you're no longer going to be spending money, because they do need to eat. You need to spend money on feeders. We used frozen thawed feeders, and that can add up pretty quick, especially if you wind up with a lot of animals. So yeah, that's another video I should do, is why we have the amount of animals that we have. I got time. All right. Now, none of this is to dishearten anyone from getting an animal that they truly want to get. It's just some things to think about before you jump into keeping snakes, or any animal for that matter. I don't think there's truly any such thing as a low maintenance animal. So really consider all of the variables before you dive into caretaking for anything, especially something like a snake, especially something like a large constrictor, because there's a lot involved with it. However, if you do decide they are for you, it is incredibly wonderful and rewarding experience. It's Monday. I'm gonna go drink more coffee. Okay, I think that's about it. I know I had Cleo helping me film for the majority of this one, but again, most of my snakes are in shed. So it's also finals week and it's a little crazy. So I'm trying to get this filming done lickety split so I can go write a paper. That is due tonight. I don't procrastinate. Who procrastinates? Thank you so much for watching. Everyone who likes and subscribes, it's so helpful. We just hit just over 3,000 subscribers last week, which is super exciting. So thank you so much. Is this your show now? Okay. It's always been the animals show, let's not lie. You can join us over on Patreon. We have a really wonderful community over there. We do weekly Zoom chats, and I think I'm gonna start a Facebook page. I haven't decided if I want to do that or not. And yeah, we just have lots of fun. We have a good time over there. So if you want to join that, it's patreon.com/thecurlyhairedkeeper. We have a website, thecurlyhairedkeeper.com, if you want to go check it out. I do need to get new merch stuff up and running. I've got about 10,000 things going on. So thank you for being patient with me as I kind of maneuver through crazy life. Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day or evening or wherever you happen to be in the day. And I will talk to you later. Cleo, what are you doing? Talk about high maintenance. You're high maintenance.